I didn't think I had that many things to talk about lately since the last time I made a video, but I put them all in my biggest basket, and I feel like I actually do have a fair amount of things to talk about. So I guess we'll see how that goes. I feel like I have a good mix of finished things, things I'm working on, and then also, not in this box, interesting things to talk about that I've acquired recently. So why don't we go ahead and get into it? Well, first thing I want to talk about shouldn't be too surprising because lately all I've been wanting to make are socks, it would seem. So first off, I finished the socks I was working on in the last video, I think. These are made from the opal sock yarns, actually entirely. The colorful stripes are with this Vincent yarn here, so you can see how the stripes change in between each solid color. But then I've also used a mixture of solids as well. I have this kind of like bluish, I said it was teal last time, it's more like a blue honestly, leaning a little bit green, but there's the kind of teal color at the bottom, and then the brown in the middle, and then red up at the top. And I tried to kind of divide the stripes in a way that I thought would make sense. I didn't match up the way the color gradient, hang on a second, it's the dog. I decided not to match up the stripes themselves because I thought it would be more interesting to let the background stripy variegated color be different from each one, but then have the solid colors be the same. It's very busy, and I imagine the way this looks is not going to be for everybody, I guess, but I really like the way that these turned out and would 100% do it again. The last time I did this, actually let me dig that out of the laundry bin. The last time I did this with the Zauberball and the same opal sock yarn, I just used a solid color for the background, just the one, and then for this main color, it was a Zauberball crazy sock, and it changed. And once again, I didn't try to like make the colors match up because I don't think that would have made sense anyway. But I really like this solid color with stripes with a variegated or some other kind of color changing sort of yarn. I actually did minimal ends for these stripes because it's just a 4-row repeat. If for whatever reason you're interested in that and didn't see the last video, it's in the last video where I talked about specifically how I managed like a carrying the yarn over so I don't have 1 million ends to deal with. These are my second pair of socks that I've knit top down, and the second pair also that I've done a tubular cast on for the top, and I find that I really like the way that stretches and the way that looks. If I'm doing top down socks again in the future, I will 100% be casting it on that way again. The second thing I want to talk about is actually the reason that I wanted to record this video in the first place, other than just kind of like a general catch up. I am super excited for this thing that I have made. I wrapped it up in like a handkerchief because it's delicate and I'm afraid of ruining it. So I have an event coming up in a couple of weeks, and as part of this event, the dress code said that we could wear like an infinity scarf of some kind. And naturally I saw that and I said, well, I'm going to cheat and make something instead that's not an infinity scarf. I'm kind of interpreting that however I feel like, I guess. But I've been thinking about lace weight yarns in particular, and I thought I would challenge myself and spin something in a lace weight yarn and then knit with it. And I found a pattern that I really liked. I don't even know if this is going to be visible. I might have to use B-roll for this. But here is the thing that I have made. If you can see that really at all, you probably can. Like I said, this is really special, partly because I spun the yarn myself, which actually, it took me like a full day, and maybe, actually don't know how heavy this is, but the original pattern calls for like 150 yards or so. And I did have yarn left over, but like it took me all day to spin a 2-ply yarn at a lace weight to work for this thing. So this kind of all came from doing a lot of spindle spinning lately, and I was trying to kind of see how thin I could spin on the spindle, and as I was going I thought I was making it pretty thin, and I felt like maybe it was thin enough to be a lace weight to use for something. It's kind of funny, this Montdale, this is actually more recent, and it is more of like a suitable for being lace weight sort of thickness. And if it was at that full twist, that would be nice. But like, this is a spindle I've made more recently, and it's just a single ply here, but like that's pretty fine. But this was not what I was making the other day. I started out with this Montdale, and it seemed pretty thin, but it seems like, especially if there's not like a lot of twist in it, once it's kind of washed again and dyed, it fluffs out a lot. So here's what I originally thought I was going to use to make that. And if I like hold it up to where you can see it, which you may or may not, a lot of this wool is like, it's basically sport to DK weight for a lot of it. Some of this is really thick. I don't really know why I thought this was going to be lace weight yarn. I very optimistically wrote lace weight on the tag, and it isn't. It's way too thick for that. Like my this stuff from Barocco, it like looks exactly the same as the sport weight Barocco for a lot of it. Ridiculous. So that was a little bit frustrating. Also, this is like pink, basically, not as dark as I wanted it to be. I dyed it with Rit dye, which is not my favorite, but it's just what I have. I happen to have like a burgundy sort of color and then a black. And so that's what I thought I would use. Didn't put as much dye in it this time. Maybe I'll dye it darker at some point because it's like pink almost. Just needs more dye in it. But like, it's like the same as this Barocco sport weight stuff. So this was not going to work out. So after going back and thinking about it, what I kind of figured I would need to do is, for one, just spin it finer than I had been. I went back to my Kromsky instead of using the hand spindles because I decided that was going to be more efficient. And what I kind of settled on, especially for this really fluffy Montdale, is that it would have to be thinner for one, but also it would have to be more twist than it would even seem like it would need to be at that thickness. And of course, when you're spinning, the thinner that it goes, the more twist it needs to have in it. So probably still doesn't have quite as much twist as it needs to be to really keep it from really fluffing out too much. But like, that's pretty good. It's not enough to be like, I don't know, like cobweb with the 2-ply for like, there's one lady at the guild who does Shetland lace shawls, and she was saying that she does like 1-ply cobweb weight, which like maybe one of these plies would have been thin enough for that. But like that's pretty thin. So after that experiment, and then it's just my leftover black, I had a lot of that. It seems to me that if I want to continue making lace weight yarn, I should probably have something with a faster whirl, just because this took ages and I felt like I was really crawling along, and I would want to speed up and there would be like no twist and it would fall apart. So I have ordered a faster whirl for my Ashford traditional double drive. So hopefully that will kind of speed up the process for just regular spinning also, because I kind of feel like I'm ready for it. But also, like, if I want to do something thinner that needs a lot more twist, that'll help me go at a more reasonable pace. But like, we'll see. It is probably going to take some getting used to. But going back to this thing, the pattern that I used has a really boring name. Actually, let me look it up. The pattern's name is V-Start Neck Kerchief Scarf. It's actually the shorter version. She has a long one too that's full length, but I wanted something that was going to be short. And I finished it in like 4 days, so like I finished it very quickly. Whereas the other one, that would probably take me way longer than it'll take. I probably wouldn't have finished the long one in time for this thing that I'm going to do. So this was kind of perfect for what I wanted. So what I kind of figured I would wear for this thing was maybe even this exact shirt, actually, with like it's like a black t-shirt. It covers some of my fish on the side here. And the scoop neck I think is actually working pretty well for the scarf. In the picture, she has it draped around kind of to the side, kind of like so that the corners are kind of like coming over the shoulder here, and she has like a pin, and then you can see the this sort of section here on the neck, and then this is going kind of a little over that shoulder. And I feel like this could work pretty well. I don't think I have like a pin that I like well enough to go with it to go here, but maybe I could put like an earring or find something to work with it. But alternatively, I thought I could also kind of put it in the front here, and I was thinking this would work kind of well with the scoop. I think I have a similar couple of shirts that have like more like a V-neck that's a little bit higher, so it might, like with the length, might not work quite as well. But this scoop I think works pretty okay with this kerchief, so maybe I'll wear this shirt with like black pants or something. I haven't decided yet, but I like this because of the lace texture for one, of course. I think it looks really pretty, and I blocked it similarly to hers so that it has the little points, which I think are kind of fun. But this section here makes me think of like Victorian lace collars, and I think that looks really cool, especially with like the gradient that I have going on, like the red to the black. I think that looks really neat. The day that I was spinning the yarn, I had my friend over, and we watched the Nosferatu movie downstairs, and it was kind of cool. Like, it wasn't planned that way. I just happened to have, these are literally the two dyes that I have, but it feels very Nosferatu to me, which now I'm kind of thinking of it as my Nosferatu kerchief because I think it's very appropriate. But I like how short it is. I feel like scarves often feel like they're too bulky for my neck. I feel like my neck's kind of short, or at least that bulky scarves look strange on me. So this is kind of perfect, and I feel like maybe in the future I would like to look for like crescent scarves, or maybe asymmetrical ones that are narrow like this, that won't feel too heavy on my neck, I suppose. Part of what's interesting about this scarf is that it's actually just a triangle scarf, except it starts halfway through. So let's take a look at another triangle scarf so I can show you what I mean. I believe this one is the Larch pattern. It's a free pattern, and it's very loosely based on a Larch. I made a lot of modifications, including attempting some freestyle lace in the middle. That was silly, and I wouldn't do that again. But essentially, this is also a triangle scarf. This is a full skein of a silk merino blend fingering weight yarn, and which makes it much bigger. But it starts similarly, well, the structure of it works the same as the other one, except here you cast on at the center, and then you do eyelets in the center column and then along the edge to make it grow. So that's what that ends up looking as, and you can see the eyelets here a little bit. So it starts out really fast at the center, and then it gets longer and longer as it goes, is kind of the idea. So this is basically the same thing, and as I hold it up, maybe you can see the shape of it. Essentially, it just cuts off that beginning part, and then you're left with the lower V section, and it has the same structure, but you don't have that same effect where the middle part is bunching up at your neck, which, like I said, I don't like. And because it's lace, it's really open and airy, and it goes very quickly. Maybe I'll just leave it on for the rest of the video. So those are the two things that I've finished. Let's move on to some things that I'm currently working on. Here's a sweater that I'm working on. Currently it's just a back panel, and it's not even very far along yet. But this is a sweater in which I'm trying to copy another one that's store-bought from several years ago that I really like the shape of. I just want it to be made of wool and be something that I made myself. This is the Universal Yarn Deluxe DK Tweed Superwash in the color, I think, Moss Pine. And this back panel, I figured I would do that first to kind of get a feel for how far along it would go. And I am about 75% way through the ball, and not very far through the back panel. I have blocked this so I could get a sense for how it was going to lay. I'm just about at the point where I'm going to add a few rows to the side for the sleeves to attach to. This is going to be a pretty oversized sweater, and it's going to be drop shoulder. But even so, I don't want to have the panels go all the way straight down the sides. I always like to kind of have it come out a little bit here because in my opinion, it makes for a better shape for the sleeves to connect to. And this is coming from doing a lot of sewing, and so I know that that's kind of how that's better to sit. So that's what I'm going to do next, but I wanted to make sure because it was like half the width before and not as long. So I needed to make sure I blocked it to see if it was going to be long enough. And I think it's ready. I'm just concerned about the amount of yarn that I have because I only have 25 grams of it left and I only have 6 balls. So I'm kind of thinking if I want this to be a long sweater, like I originally envisioned, I'm probably going to need like another couple balls. And I have heard that Universal Yarns is discontinuing this yarn. At least my store doesn't carry it anymore. So I'm a little bit worried that I'm not going to be able to do this the way that I had originally hoped it would be. Maybe I will end up having to put another color at the bottom of this sweater. We don't know yet. But this is something I'm working on. I'm not like excited to work on it. It's kind of boring, frankly, to stitch. So I'm kind of just working on it when I work on it. I was kind of thinking originally I would make a video specifically on this sweater, if anything, just to practice making like a video centered on a particular project. But like it's just kind of boring and it's going to take a long time. So maybe that's not what this one's going to be. Maybe I'll just do it and not worry about it anymore. And then I won't feel like I have to drag my feet working on it so I can catch shots of different things happening. I forgot to mention what the stitch pattern is. This is a pattern that's pretty common on machine stitched sweaters. It's a 4-row repeat, but a 1x1 rib. And on the last row of the 4-row repeat, you go into the knit stitch 3 stitches down, and then it catches 3 of them into 1 stitch. So you end up with like kind of like a waffly sort of texture. I don't know if there's a name for this, but I don't see anybody using it to knit with, really. I could only find one Reddit post where somebody was talking about figuring out how to do it. And she did hers a little bit differently. It does make it look different from what I've been bothering to do because I kind of don't really want to do what she did. It doesn't seem to really matter because when you like block it and you work it around, the stitches kind of rearrange themselves and look more accurate, but also I don't think I care that much. I don't know, it's kind of boring to stitch. It's just a nice textured pattern. I'm not excited about it. I think I'm going to be a lot more excited when I actually have the finished sweater in my hands than I am actually working on it. So I don't know. If you have any thoughts about any of this, let me know because I would be interested to hear anything about it. And I don't know, maybe that'll help me come up with a decision for some of these issues and also maybe get a little bit more excited to actually work on it. In any case, that's this sweater progress so far. Here's something I'm a lot more excited to be working on. I had shown this ball of yarn a while ago that I was excited to work on. I just didn't know what to do. Well, I have got most of a sock. It's a paint sock, I think is what it was called. It's actually a 3-ply yarn. It's very slightly thinner than the opal sock yarns that I use mostly. But I find that it's just like such a small difference, it doesn't really matter, and I don't think that it'll make any difference. But I'm using this gray color as a contrast color, and I'm almost ready to do a contrast gray cuff at the top. As you can see, this is a toe up sock, which I think is probably still my preference because I kind of like starting with the Turkish cast on. Really, I could take either, but I don't mind sewing off for a tubular cast off. So since I figure I like doing toe up Turkish cast ons, I don't know, that's probably going to be my default unless there's some reason not to, like color work or whatever. But the colors on this are very cool. And this isn't even the full repeat yet. We still have like the section where I went like 15 rows over and had to undo it. That was really fun. But like we've got some orange here and that moves into like that mix of orange and green, and then we get back to where the repeat is. So these are really cool colors. And I think what I'm gonna do is, because I'm technically at the point where normally I would stop and switch to a contrast color, I think I'm gonna go for a little bit farther so that I finish on a white section. So I can have a white stripe in between the color and the gray cuff, but also so that I can use like a separate white yarn to cast on, because this is like a different width than the rest of these white stripes are. So I think I'm going to try to not match up the colors of the stripes, but I think I'm going to try to make it so that there's stripes in the same places, just in different colors. And I think the sort of like almost matched but different colors in it is going to look really cool for this sock yarn in particular. So I am having a blast working with this particular yarn. It's just really cool to watch the colors. And I'm looking forward to finishing this one. So that's something I'm actually excited to be working on right now. The next thing I'm working on is not knitting. I don't have anything else actually currently I'm knitting, but I am spinning stuff. I've got a whole bunch of these third of a skein sized skeins. It's a total of like a little over 200 grams of spun yarn at this point. It's just that my bobbin can only seem to hold about 35 grams of this yarn before it's too full and I have to take it off. So they're like third size skeins, which means essentially it's like two 100-gram skeins worth of finished yarn so far, which is kind of annoying. So this is that same Montadale that I've been working through, which is a fleece that I got last year. And it's a 4-ply yarn actually. And I'm trying to shoot for like a worsted weight yarn. And some of it is definitely at worsted, some of it's below. A little bit of it is more like an Aran weight or whatever. But I think like overall this is going to work for what I have in mind. And my thought for this, which I think I talked about this in the last video also, my thought was that I could comfortably spin at the same thickness at this point. And 3 strands together, which is originally what I thought I would do, made for like maybe like a DK weight. Not really what I thought I wanted. So I thought, well, I guess I may as well spin a 4th bobbin of the same weight single and just make it into a 4-ply yarn. And it's a real nice squishy texture with the 4-ply. It just, it takes a really long time to spin that many singles. So I like that. The problem though is that these bobbins are small for the Ashford traditional double drive and they empty out super fast. Like I thought I would get more yarn out of it because these are advertised as being able to hold like 3.5 to 4 grams of fiber. They don't. Here's a bobbin that actually isn't completely full at this point because I filled it and then I used some of it for my last skein. But you can see like this is almost full except for the part at the top where I've used a little of. I weighed this. The bobbin itself weighs about 51 grams or so. This, when it was full, this was like 104 grams altogether, which means this doesn't hold 100 grams of fiber or 3.5 to 4 ounces. It holds like half that amount. So I don't know what's going on with that, but it means that I've emptied out all of my bobbins that I showed you before, making approximately 2 full skeins worth of yarn. So I'm having to go back through and spin a lot more, and it takes ages, which is another reason why I'm excited to have ordered the high-speed whirl, because hopefully I'll be able to fill it faster. It's not about being a race, but when you're making a 4-ply yarn and trying to make that yarn real thin, it just feels like crawling along. It's going to take ages. So I'm looking forward to that showing up. In the meantime, that's what that looks like. It's going to take forever. For comparison, here's my Kromsky bobbin, and this is for a Scotch machine, of course. And as you can see, it's like wider at the bases, but it's also longer. So I actually don't know how much fiber I can fit on one of these, but I was kind of thinking about plying instead on the Kromsky instead of on the traditional. That way, if something runs out, then I can run that bobbin over to the traditional and I can fill it up and then go back and I don't have to break the yarn and all that stuff. I think it'll just be better, even though I do prefer plying in general, probably on the Ashford. I don't know, I'll figure it out. But yeah, I mean, it's a good thing I like spinning, I guess, because I feel like I need to spin at least 3 times as much as I've made so far. So I think that does it for all the things that I have made recently. So let's talk real quick about some of the things that I've purchased. I went to a small event in my hometown recently for the Sheep Breeders Association, and there wasn't like a lot there. We're still a little bit early in our area for all of the sheep stuff. We have a bigger festival coming up, and then of course Maryland Sheep and Wool is coming up soon after that as well. But this was kind of like a warm-up thing, and really there was only a few people at this event who were selling fleece, but I got some. First off, I guess this isn't fleece, but I got some Cormo locks, and he just had like a grab bag of different colors, and so I was able to just kind of like mix and match and grab like whatever colors I thought looked cool. So like I've got naturally some green because I thought that looked cool. Here's like some more like more blue green. He had like some sections where like this is like purples and reds and oranges, and like that looks pretty cool. I have not spun Cormo yet, but I thought this would be kind of interesting to kind of mix in with the rest of it for like little pops of color now and then. I probably won't keep them as locks. I'm probably going to card them. He did have a cool piece though. He said when his daughter was 3, she made this felted vest kind of a thing, and they had left the locks in the lock shape for some of it, and it made like really interesting like coily textures in it, and I thought that looked really cool. But I bought this to spin with. So it's like a whole bunch of like fun colors. And I'm just gonna like keep it on my shelf to use for something someday. So this can go right back up there for me to just kind of look at. The second thing I got there was a fleece. This is BFL. And I have some BFL, like commercial BFL up here that I got at a couple different ones. Here's a really cool braid. I forget if I showed it last time. This braid is really cool. These are my colors, and I love to look at it, but I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. So it was like orange at the bottom. Like that looks really cool. So like it just lives on my shelf, and I gaze up at it from time to time, not knowing what to do with it. And I've got like other BFL. I like spinning BFL. Here's some Blueface Leicester that I made with the intent to be like a sock weight. It's kind of funny because like at the time when I made this, I was like, oh, this is the best yarn I've ever made. I'm not saying it's not now, but I think I could do better at this point. It's been a few months. And like, this is real nice. It was a delight to spin with. It was a 3-ply. I would like to make socks out of hand-spun BFL yarn in particular. My thought with that, kind of like going off on a little bit of a tangent, I have all of this Leicester long wool. It's up there, I don't feel like reaching for it. But I have all this Leicester long wool that had been sitting in someone's stash for forever. These are some of the first skeins that I ever spun. They're not great, but it's like, it's old, so like the lanolin in it is really sticky. And so it's kind of a pain to spin, but like, it's kind of ropey, and like I'm willing to assume that it's just that I didn't know what I was doing, and that maybe if I did this again, I would do a better job, especially after like rescouring it to get the lanolin out. But it's like, it's real slick, and it's not, I don't know, it's not as, it doesn't feel as soft as like the BFL does. I've seen people say that like Leicester long wool can be nice for more hard wearing things. So I kind of have this thought. I wonder if something like a long wool, especially one that's not particularly soft, maybe something like that would be good to mix in with a softer wool, kind of like how we mix in nylon with other wools to give it a little bit more durability. I was kind of trying to look around to see if anybody else had done this, and I didn't see anything. But I wonder if it would be worth mixing some of the long wool in with the BFL, and if that would get me like a more durable sock yarn. Something to maybe experiment with someday. Once again, if anybody knows anything about that, I would love to hear any of your opinions on the matter. So maybe an experiment with another time. But going back to the fleece that I bought, this is like 2 pounds, I think. And this was from a very sweet old lady who showed me a picture of the sheep and the 2 kids that she had just had the week before. Adorable. I love that about buying local wool. She's just this little old lady. She looked like she might have been in her late 80s or so. And she said she shears her sheep herself. That's a lot of work. Amazing. So I got this. The locks are real long. It's real greasy. It's real fresh, and the lanolin is fresh. And I don't know, I'm looking forward to scouring that and doing something with it. 2 pounds of wool. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but that'll be a lot of fun. That's pretty cool. This one I didn't purchase, actually. It was given to me as a gift. A cool thing about being in a guild is that you meet cool people, and this cool person raises her own sheep. I was telling her about how I was looking for like a dark fleece, and they just had their shearer come through last month. So she said she's got like 90 pounds of wool. Insane. So she has a lot, and she said, here, would you like this wool as a gift? I actually haven't weighed it, so I don't know how much it is. It's probably like half, like a 1 pound or so. It's like half the amount that's in that other bag. But this one is a Perendale fleece, and it's from last year. And it's got like little light colored wiry bits in there, and the parts where the sun bleached it, that's like a nice chocolatey brown. But the rest of it, it's like a real nice dark, not actually quite black, but like that's lovely. And I've got a bag of it to do something with. That's really cool. I don't know what I'm going to do with this fleece, but that's an absolutely lovely and generous gift. And I am very excited to do something special with it. I have a lot of fleece right now. I've got the Montedale I've been working through in the basement. That's not even halfway done yet. And then I've got alpaca in this bin that you can barely see up here. And then I've got the old Leicester long wool up there. Don't even know how much that I have, but that's like a roving. I've got this thin stuff that I've been kind of slowly working through with a spindle. And then I've got the BFL up there, and then I've got this Perendale here. It seems like I need to get to work on some spinning. So that's really all I have to share today. As it turns out, I actually have to go somewhere. So I'm like literally running this up right against the clock. But I would love to know if you have any thoughts on any things that I talked about. Mostly, like I said, I'm excited about this scarf right here because this is like, I don't know, probably the best thing I've ever made. But let me know what you think, I guess. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time. I've been rearranging this room, and now you can fully appreciate the neglected plant corner. My sad pothos over there, which I swear is alive. It's just a lot of dead leaves right now. And then most of my Hoyas, half of my Hoyas are over here as well, which is my delight. I love Hoyas. And also the growing pile of sheets for sewing purposes. I'm so glad you could see that.